Call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, January 21st. We're here for the purpose of the regular meeting of the Elmhurst City Council. I would ask that you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Spencer, please call the roll to establish a quorum.
Gutenkopf. Here. Deuter. Here. Dunn.
Here.
Leader.
Here.
Polumsky. Here. Graham.
Here.
Hipskin.
Here.
York. Absent. Levin.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Honquist.
Here.
Kennedy. Absent. Mulliner.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
12 present, 2 absent.
Very good. 12 present, 2 absent. We have a quorum. On to agenda item number 3. Commonwealth Edison Community Update. About once a year, we ask ComEd come to a city council meeting and update the city council and the city on improvements that have been made to the facility and status of our current electrical infrastructure in town. And in doing so, Mr. Kopp, we have a new rep here, George Gallrep, and I probably pronounced that wrong.
No, it's perfect.
But we'll let him get set up. George, when you have an opportunity, why don't you introduce yourself? And what we'll do is we'll go through your presentation, and we'll see if there's, you may get interrupted during for council members to ask questions or follow-up questions at the end.
Okay.
So the floor is yours. And we ask, and if you need to pull that microphone down,
Yeah.
but it's being recorded, so that we ask that you speak into the microphone.
Yes, can everybody hear me okay? Okay, I don't want this to be confused with the April meeting. That's once a year, so I'm going to come back here again in 3 months. What this presentation tonight is about is questions and concerns that you had from last April and the improvements that ComEd has made over the last couple of years. So first of all, I'd like to thank Mayor Morley, Jim Grabowski, and the staff, and the council members for letting me be here tonight. I started with ComEd last September. I think I emailed everybody on the council. I got some good responses, made me feel at rest and at home. Got a few phone calls, and I got a couple emails. So tonight, I'd like to introduce Scott Kish. Scott is the reliability manager, and he'll be the one giving the presentation tonight. And as we leave the presentation tonight, we're not here to tell you everything's great and everything's perfect, but improvements have been made, and it's a continuous process moving forward. I know that perception is reality, and right now, ComEd's perception in town is a little iffy. I attended one of your breakfasts at the chamber event, and somebody made some remarks, and I got up and told people who I worked for. I'm very proud to be here at ComEd because I believe in the system, I believe in the leadership, and I believe what we're doing over the next few years is going to make great improvements to the electric reliability and the technology for everyone. So with that, Scott?
Thank you, George, and I'd also like to thank all of you for taking your time this evening to listen to what we have to say. Can you get this started? Okay. All right, terrific. All right, so this map shows our distribution system here in the city of Elmhurst. We have 47 circuits that supply power to the customers here. And in general, we use the circuit numbers to track the work that we're doing, and we'll get into that in the next few slides. So this table is the average number of interruptions customers in Elmhurst have experienced looking at the past 4 years. This is one of our key reliability metrics, and with this metric, the lower the number represents the better the performance. So in our case, a number of 0.87 in 2013 means that on average, Elmhurst customers experienced less than 1 interruption last year. And I'm pleased to report that this is the best performance on record, which goes back 15 years. It's also favorable to the ComEd as a system, and it's favorable to ComEd's North region. And when we get into the next few slides, we're going to get to some of the work that's been done to achieve this performance.
Excuse me, could you define interruption? How long is the length of time for an interruption? What is that definition?
Yeah, so the definition is made by the State of Illinois Administrative Code. It is an interruption service greater than 1 minute.
Thank you.
So this slide summarizes a programmatic reliability work in the last 2 years that's impacted customers here in Elmhurst. Each of these programs is designed to improve performance. For example, our 1% circuit program entails a detailed review of the interruptions on that circuit with targeted corrective actions to repair or replace components of those circuits when needed. In our distribution automation program, ComEd installs what we call smart switches on our system that have the capability of communicating and working together to create a self-healing system that reduces the number of customers that are interrupted when there is a disturbance, such as a car hits a pole. In that example, there may have been 1,500 customers interrupted. With automation, that impact would be reduced by half or even more. And I would like to also mention that that is one of the programs that is part of the grid modernization bill that was approved by the legislature in Springfield in 2011. The storm hardening and localized improvements that we've done are where we've had recent history of storm interruptions. We have multiple examples there of Hendrix cable, like we've talked about before, and some other things that we'll get into when we get to that slide. We have other. I'm sorry.
Just when speaking on some of these statistics, like 11 circuits in the last 2 years and down below 5 circuits, 29 circuits, can you please frame this so at least I will have a better understanding? 11 circuits out of how many that impact the city of Elmhurst?
Yeah, so in Elmhurst we have 47.
Okay.
So, we'll get into some of the specifics later, but yeah, there are a total of 47 circuits in the city here, and we've touched quite a few of them in the past 2 years.
Thank you.
So in our other reliability programs that we have up there, they look at interruptions due to common causes such as lightning, and we look for areas where we can install protective measures such as arresters to help protect the system when there are lightning strokes in the area. And of course, the last one on there is the tree trimming. And in our distribution tree trimming program, we have a 4-year cycle for our distribution circuits. We have certified arborists that will review the vegetation near our distribution lines. They identify any growth that would occur in the next, projected to occur in the next 4 years, and take appropriate action to trim back that growth from contacting the line. And in some cases, we'll remove trees that pose high risks of reliability to the system. All right, so now we get into some of the details. For example, this is our 1% circuit. So I mentioned on the last slide that this entails a detailed review of our interruptions on that circuit with targeted corrective actions to repair or replace components of these circuits where needed. So the first one, Whiskey 5202, serves an area just northwest of the North Avenue and Route 83 intersection. We completed a number of improvements on our overhead system, such as pole replacements, installing the anchor, retensioning the wire, and those are all about making our overhead system more resilient, resist damage, prevent outages, things like that. The next one, Whiskey 3512, serves an area in the far northeast part of Elmhurst. We made improvements there with our fusing, which helps reduce the number of customers impacted when there is a disturbance in that area, helps isolate outages and reduce the exposure. Circuit Whiskey 4564 serves an area near First and Winthrop, replaced a number of poles to make the overhead system more resilient. Circuit Whiskey 688, which serves an area around Fullerton and Elm, completed a number of overhead improvements, such as installing the fuses, which makes the system, again, more resilient and reduces the impact when there are outages. And that Whiskey 348 serves an area near Elm and Riverside. We reviewed the circuit, and we had found that we had recently replaced a number of insulators, and that's the device that protects the wire and keeps it from the cross arm. We'd recently replaced some of those, so there was no further work required. So this is a picture of one of our smart switches. You'll start seeing more and more of these around town as you're driving around. In 2013, there was a quite large automation plan that in part affected 5 circuits in total, and in particular Whiskey 341, which is on the west side of Elmhurst near the Sunnyside and Madison area. So these switches work together to isolate disturbances and sometimes limit the number of customers impacted, like if a car hits a pole. The switches will automatically reconfigure the system and restore as many customers as possible. Many customers will just see their lights blink rather than experience a sustained outage. So as I mentioned, we had the definition of an outage is greater than 1 minute. So in a lot of cases, what we're seeing is customers will see just a short outage, just a few seconds while the system reconfigures and restores the power. That's in place of taking more sustained outage, which could last, hour, hour and a half, or even longer. So here's some locations where we put them in, Monterey and Fairfield, Highland and Villa, St. Charles and Villa, and that work was all completed in June.
That's St. Charles, right?
Yeah, and I realize some of those might be a little bit outside of the city boundaries, but our circuits tend to meander between, inside and outside city boundaries. So overall, we do serve a number of customers on that circuit, as well as, some customers that are on that circuit that could be in another municipality. So this gets into some of our storm hardening work. The device you see in the top picture is called a Trip Saver, and that's a product from a local company called S&C. They have some of the capabilities as a recloser from the previous slide, but these are a little bit smaller device. They were designed to prevent sustained outages from incidental tree contact. They'll open the circuit just briefly, allow a tree to clear, and then it'll reclose and try it again. And that work was installed right at the south side of Madison between Hawthorne and Berkeley. And that's another item that was installed in our Grid Modernization Act. And Circuit Whiskey 668 X-ray was a fairly significant job to convert some area from overhead to underground, approximately 800 feet, and that's right over by the York Woods Forest Preserve. Fairly large job, and that was completed in August. And again, that was also made possible through the Grid Modernization Bill. Skip the slide. All right, so in terms of our other programs, we had Circuit Whiskey 4566. We replaced a transformer, moved a pole, installed a fuse. We identified those more of a strategic improvement to help that area. Moving the transformer helps to balance the electrical load. Replacing the pole makes the system more resilient, and installing the fuse helps isolate when there are issues, minimizes the customers impacted. The circle you see around that device in the picture is what we call a lightning arrestor. Those are designed to help prevent damage when there are small and medium-sized lightning strikes in the area. It will help provide a path to ground for that lightning, minimizes the damage to the system. When we do our annual program review, we'll identify circuits that have had lightning interruptions, and we'll identify them for upgrading through this lightning program. And then the last picture you see is wildlife protection. That's a plastic guard that will go around our energized equipment. It'll prevent animals from getting into it and causing outages.
Before you move on, you made a couple mentions of interruptions, which Alderman Healy asked about, and outage.
Yes.
Are they synonymous or different?
They
Because
are.
you seem
They
to be
are.
using them interchangeably.
They are. Interruption and outage basically mean the same thing, and
So anything greater than a minute?
correct.
Okay.
Correct. Thank you. And in terms of our vegetation management, we touched quite a few circuits. There were 27 circuits in the city, and total approximately 78 miles of tree trimming that was done in the last year. So we see impact from that, and we appreciate everyone's cooperation as we're in their backyards and front yards and trimming the trees. George has one slide he wants to cover, and then we'll take any questions.
Thanks, Scott. With that said, we're not done. We're not nearly completed. If you look at the graphs up here, there's several different things ComEd will be doing in the future. We're about 31% done with our program, 34% with the AMI, which is a fancy word for smart meters. Smart meters will be coming to Elmhurst. There will be 50 of them installed in late February, just to the east of 294, and then they're going to have a rollout later in the year. So what we also are doing, oops, you can probably see this better than I can, is cable remediation. So the underground cable all the council members familiar when you reline a sewer line? Okay, instead of digging up, replacing it, it's much more effective and efficient and cost benefit on your side to reline it. Well, we do something very similar with an electrical cable underground. They shoot in a silicone that goes through the cable, closes off any of the micro cracks in it, and it establishes a lifetime of about 15 to 30 years. We also have manhole refurbishing, very important because a lot of our system is underground, goes through manholes. We've made underground main cable replacement, so replacing the cable in whole. The original cable replacement, wood pole inspections. You can see we've got quite a few wood poles out there, almost 500,000. So we're looking at every aspect of our system, whether it be overhead, underground, our poles, our circuits, our substations, upgrades to training facilities, distribution automation, which Scott pointed to earlier. The neat thing about the recloser, what happens, we put the reclosers on the line. They have a sensor, so if a tree branch comes and falls on the line before, automatically your lights are out. The fuse blew, it opened up, no electric passed through. The sensor now does once, twice, and 3 times. It senses whether or not the branch has cleared the wire, and if it has, then it closes back up again, and you don't have an interruption. You have less than a minute interruption. So you don't have everybody calling the mayor's house, the alderman's house, saying our lights are out. It's just a temporary, momentary interruption there, so it works out very well. ComEd is dedicated to making improvements throughout the entire grid and upgrades with the smart meter moving forward. Like I said earlier, I'll come back mid-April, the end of April, with a report that Jim has a copy of last year's report with him, I left here, that will tell you exactly what we've done, what we're doing in the future, and by then our budget year should be just about complete, or a budget analysis on what we're going to be doing in Elmhurst in the future. Okay? So with that, with the mayor's permission, we'll open up to questions.
Anybody who has any additional questions, just one thing you could touch on before we get started is the smart meter installation in Elmhurst.
Yes.
What's the time frame on that?
That'll be mid to late February, and we'll give you notification prior to coming in.
And that's, could you be more specific, how many, and then?
There's 50 of them, and it's one small completion of a circuit east of 294.
East of 294?
Yeah.
Which would be not Elmhurst.
It's just on the, it's
Actually, I
still,
think it's on that part by, on the highway that's just west of 290. It's the completion of one of their grids.
yeah, it's just a small portion of it. Like Scott was talking earlier, how our circuits, sometimes they're outside your city but affect your city. Sometimes they're inside your city and affect other cities. This is just a small circuit that we're completing as we're rolling it from the east to the west.
And when would a full rollout of smart grids be targeted for Elmhurst?
That's up in the air. It's going to be sooner than we anticipated, and when they make the decisions on those dates, Mayor, I'll get it to you right away and announce it to you first.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Gallrup? Alderman Bram?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not as concerned, and I don't know if you're bundling terminology here, but with the smart meters themselves, right? I'm more interested in the reliability aspect of the improvements, being the various smart fuses and the other types of equipment that you discussed already. When you say that the smart meters are being rolled out, is that the overall smart grid program, or is it just the smart meters, or what do you mean when you say that?
Well, they've rolled out the smart meters as we speak. They're continuing to add every day more meters to the system. The grid itself is constantly being improved. These are the improvements that we'll be making to the grid on top of the meters coming out. Now, one of the advantages of having a smart meter is you don't have to have that phone call, because we'll be alerted when there's an outage by the meter as it pings through when the system's completed. So we'll know quicker and more effectively and efficiently to pinpoint the areas where the outages are.
So when you talk smart meters, are you talking also from the perspective of ComEd charging variable rates depending on high usage, low usage? Is
Yes.
that, because to me, that when you mentioned smart meters,
Yeah.
that's what that means compared to the reliability aspect of the smart grid program.
There's a lot of different applications that smart meter will have, and as we start to roll those out, I'll be glad to come back with a technician to explain each and every one of those, because it's a systematic upgrade. Meters that are allowed to ping the signal back to ComEd so we know when outages are. There's a system that your your customers, your constituents will be able to look at the meter and be able to digest and manipulate the cost and when they run their appliances and different options.
Thank you.
Scott, did I answer that correctly? Anything else?
I think it's perfect.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions? Alderman Mulliner.
The grid that I'm looking at right now, I want to make sure, is that just Elmhurst, or is that the entire state of Illinois?
Oh, you mean right here?
Yeah.
Oh, no, this is the system itself. The system's from the eastern border, Chicago,
Okay.
Toward Freeport, Rockford, and beyond to the
So
west.
let me ask the question that I want to have answered then.
Yeah, yes.
If I'm looking specifically at the city of Elmhurst, what
Yeah.
percentage of the city of Elmhurst has been brought onto the smart grid environment minus smart meters?
Oh, I don't have a percentage for you,
Is
but
there
I
any
can
way to
get
get
that.
that percentage?
Sure.
Because to me, that's critical. You know what? I love our neighbors as far as the grid.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I want to make sure Elmhurst stays up and running. I really don't care whether Villa Park does.
Okay.
I know that sounds mean to Villa Park, but I want Elmhurst to stay up and running.
Well, let me assure you, we're hoping that both stay up. But with that, I will get the data for you that shows what percentage of improvements that we've made within Elmhurst and a reliable sheet to get off to you.
The other thing that would be extremely helpful is to have this particular presentation available so that we can give it to the city, so that they can put it on our website if possible.
All right.
With, instead of just being the circuit number,
Yes.
the location of those circuit numbers, because those circuit numbers to the public mean nothing.
Okay.
But the location gives them a good idea of what we're dealing with.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Alderman Wagner and I are way too familiar with a couple of the circuits in the southwest corner.
Okay.
And I'm sure everybody else in their own area is familiar with theirs, but the public isn't necessarily familiar with those circuit numbers.
Okay, and everything that we do, we run through communications and legal to make sure everything is protected, to make sure it doesn't fall in the wrong hands or somebody can manipulate the system. But whatever we can do, I will come back with that to your council.
Thank you.
Okay? Anyone else?
Any other questions?
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. You have my contact information. Anytime you need to call me, please do. And if it's a really difficult question, I'll make sure you have Scott's information also. So,
So just a clarification.
Yes.
Your target, we had talked about this when we met last week. I know that you're going through your budget and planning process, and you anticipate that, this is interesting, historical information, but in terms of what's next and what investments will be made in Elmhurst in the near future, you anticipate you'll have that information for us along with what else, additional information has been requested, April?
yes.
Okay,
Correct. At the end of the budget thing?
Yeah, correct.
Yes, it will be.
okay.
Okay? Hey, and one note to remember, I represent you. Elmhurst is one of the cities that I'm responsible for as an external affairs manager. So I'm right on the fence. 51% ComEd, 49% Elmhurst. I want to see the best things happen. I really do. So anytime you have a question, anytime you have a concern about reliability, please contact me. Because the sooner we get answers to you, the sooner you can dispel rumors. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, agenda item number 4, receipt of written communications from the public. At this time, is there anyone in the audience who has any written communication they would like to submit to the city? If so, please approach Clerk Spencer and provide her with that information.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else with any additional written communication that you'd like to submit? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 5. Agenda item number 5 is the public forum portion of our meeting. This is a portion of our meeting where it's an opportunity for anybody in the public to address the city council. We ask that you keep your time to 3 minutes so that we can allow other people to speak and also conduct our business. If you get past 3 minutes, I will give you a gentle reminder. And we ask that you address your councils directly, your comments directly to the city council and specifically the chair. Clerk Spencer, is there anybody who signed up for public forum this evening?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we'll start with Claude Pagash, 566 West Gladys.
Mr. Pagash, if you could approach the microphone.
Claude Poggett, 566 West Gladys. Methinks the administration protests too much. They put out a letter. 900 pieces of paper had to be sent out. But there does exist the Freedom of Information Act. Don't know why it was passed, don't know when it was passed, but it doesn't increase my belief in what the legislative bodies do. Personally, I don't care if one person or 1,000 people in this town want information from this city. They pay for it with their taxes. So when a city complains, people are complaining about it are the people that actually pay for it. And if they have doubts about their government, then they have a right to ask that government to satisfy those doubts. I don't care if it takes a semi-truckload of paper. For when you lose as a legislative body in a city the faith of the people in what you're doing, you're in trouble. When you have to go to arbitration as a resident to get information, the city's in trouble because they've lost twice. You can't afford to lose the trust of people. In the history of mankind, governments have changed. The resident is always there. And when he's unhappy and unsure and doubts what government is doing, at least now, he can make a request to see what government is actually doing. And what makes government believe that they can decide what they'll release and how it should be, the law be used. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, and the administration of the city, it's the resident that's important. All he wants from you is the truth. And when he feels he isn't getting that truth, he becomes very inquisitive. And he has a right to be. Because everything in this room, everything in this building, he paid for. And you've gone to him and said, vote for me, and I will work for you.
Mr. Pragash, you're at your 3 minutes. I'd ask you to wrap it up.
And don't ever let that citizen doubt that fact, that you're working for him.
Next, we have Tamara Brenner, 137 North Caroline.
Tamara Brenner, 137 North Caroline. I just wanted to let you know what I submitted to the clerk here. Written communication includes a letter that I sent to Mayor Morley on January 13th following the episode with the FOIA violation. It's an open letter to the mayor. I sent it to the mayor and to the city manager. I don't know if they read it or not. The mayor has said before that's information that I've submitted to the city he did not read the time that I submitted it. So it's available to all the aldermen too, and to anybody who wants to read it, they can submit a FOIA request to the city and get a copy. One other thing I put in there too is page 25 of the 25 pages that were released to me in that FOIA, which has 3 small black squares of redacted material. I was pretty amused to read in the message from the city that they released all the material less the redactions that they were allowed. These are the only redactions in the 25 pages. So I'm glad that we're keeping those big secrets from the citizens and making a big deal about the redactions. This material is quite interesting to me in terms of the finances about the Addison parking garage. I think there's still more information about this, which I do plan to ask for in the future once the hearing is done on Thursday night, January 23rd. This financial information is based from November 11th, 2011, probably updated through phone calls and things, but there is more information to be had, and I do want to understand the whole project, and I intend to continue pursuing it. Thanks.
That's all who signed in tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Clerk Spencer. At this time, is there anyone who did not have an opportunity to sign up on the sign-in sheet? Please raise your hand so I can identify you. It appears that we have one person who would like to speak. Oh, we have two, okay. No, Ms. Sullivan, we'll let you speak first, and then this gentleman can go next.
Thank you, Mayor Morley. Kathleen Sullivan, 133 Pine Street. I saw some very interesting things in the paper this past week. The Park District's proposal with regards to an intergovernmental agreement to try to address the flooding issues with regards to stormwater here in the Fourth Ward area. I saw the school boards had some comment on that, and I'm hoping to hear an update later tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Sir, if you could approach the microphone and identify yourself and your address.
My name is Rex. Last name's Irby, I-R-B-Y, 853 South Hillside. Mark's my 2 doors down from me. Not that matters. Thanks for ComEd coming out. That was my first reason I came tonight. And very informative sheet they put up on the boards. And as you guys all know, that's probably distribution, and your bill comes out. The reason I know all this is I was on the Illinois Commerce Commission's Smart Grid Task Force for 2 years here in Chicago. So I have a little bit of awareness of what's going on, but I don't know I don't climb poles and do distribution work, but do have some knowledge of what they're talking about. Those costs that aren't paid for by the government, whether state, local, or those special funds, those will be rolled back to us in our electric bill in the distribution part, regardless if you're electing in the plan or out of the plan's electricity cost. Those distribution costs come to everybody. That's on the other side of the bill, or I don't know if you're familiar with what I'm talking about, but those costs get capitalized just like anybody who can build any device, and then you expense it over X number of years, depending on the life of those things that they were talking about. So I think most of that, as me as a taxpayer or consumer of these services, and whether or not I wanted that pole or not, it's kind of for the common good because it's a municipal a utility, and so therefore we have to pay for that. So just so you know, those will be coming back on your bill. I don't know what the bill will be, but that's one issue. I'm currently at my house. I'm under not quite a smart. I call it a dumb meter. It's what they call a time of use meter, where I pay for electricity by the hour. Meaning, at this rate, at night, it might be 2 cents a kilowatt, and maybe at 5 p.m. on January 7th, it might be $2 a kilowatt. So on January 7th, that's why I brought that up, we had our highest all-time electric cost, and ComEd belongs to about 13 states that they control the electricity. ComEd just generates electricity and has distribution, but there's a place in Valley Forge, PA that controls the electricity. I know it's kind of sci-fi-ish, but it's the God-honest truth. So if they say we go into a brownout in Valley Forge, PA, ComEd has to legally comply, and the residents of Elmhurst have nothing to say about it. So the lights in here would go down, or they would go blackout. They'd go to a blackout situation. That almost happened on January the 7th. And so I don't know if anybody has any communications with anybody about that, but that whole northwest region was under pretty strong duress during that period. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but we almost went to blackout. So it would have been, I don't know if you watch NBC Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock, the Revolution show. We got a little bit close to that. So thank you very much.
Anyone else who did not have an opportunity to sign up that would like to address the council this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on. Announcements. Agenda item number 6. Any announcements? Alderman Palomsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next week, Wednesday, the 29th, Alderman Bram and I will be hosting another town hall at Elmhurst Public Library, and City Manager Grabowski will be joining us. We encourage residents to contact us with specific agenda items, and we encourage them to attend. Thank you.
Any other announcements? Alderman Bram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a little bit away, but North York planning meetings. I've been told by the city that the next public meeting will be sometime in mid-February, the visionary workshop. So just stay tuned in further details while we solidify the date, but sometime in mid-February is the next North York planning meeting.
Okay. Any other announcements? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 7, which is our consent agenda. Is there any alderman at this time that wishes to have any item removed from the consent agenda for further discussion? Any items to remove? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as written without any items removed. A motion from Alderman Dunn, second by Alderman Deuter. Clerk Spencer, please call the vote.
Dunn.
Aye.
Deuter.
Aye.
Leader. Aye. Palumski.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Gipskin.
Aye.
York, absent. Levin.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Honquist.
Aye.
Kennedy, absent. Mulliner. Wagner.
Aye.
Oh, excuse me, I forgot Gutenkopf, sorry. 12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent.
12 ayes, 0 nays. The motion to approve the consent agenda as written passes. Agenda item number 8, reports and recommendations of appointed and elected officials. 8.1, Mayor Morley. Real quick announcement. I will be giving the State of Our City address a week from today, next Tuesday. It is at, it's an event put on by the Chamber, hosted by the Community Bank of Elmhurst. There is limited seating, but I know it will be televised multiple times after it's over. So I look forward to seeing you all there. Alderman Bram, you had a question?
No, not a question, just a report.
What, Alderman Bram, let me finish with City Manager Grabowski, and then I'll go to you. That's it for me. City Manager Grabowski.
Thank you. 2 items. You may have noticed that Allied has been a little bit behind on picking up Christmas trees in some parts of the city. They've not forgotten about them, but they've just been delayed with the weather. They have been working Saturdays to catch up. So if you get any questions, please have them call the city, and we'll make sure that we get their address to be sure that Allied swings by there. And then second, just a reminder that next Monday we will have a committee of the whole meeting after committees.
Any other reports and recommendations? Alderman Bram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was actually looking for a report on, during the budget discussions back on November 25th, Alderman Levin asked a question that I've been asking for the last few years. And that question is, what is the city's position on the lifespan of concrete streets? At that time, City Manager Grabowski stated that he would get back to the City Council with that answer. It's been 2 months. I was looking to see if we had an answer at this time, to see if a decision or any further research has been done.
I do not have an answer for you tonight, but I will get together with Mr. Weinstock and the engineering division and have that conversation.
Thank you.
Alderman Gutenkopf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With all the snow, I was wondering if we could get an update on where the city is with our expenditures toward salt and snow removal as a percentage of our budget for the year.
Good question. Do you know those figures off the top of your head, City Manager Grabowski?
I don't have updated numbers from the ones I gave 2 weeks ago, but I can get those and we can send them out to the council in short order.
So budget-related expenses as it relates to all of the storm activity, and are we above or below and what we budgeted? Okay? All right. Any other reports or recommendations? Seeing none, I'll go on to other business. Is there anyone who has any other business at this time? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Alderman Wagner, second by Alderman Onquist. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you very much.